Palworld continues to be an unstoppable record-smashing machine, Prince of Persia devs eye up Zelda, and the PlayStation's VR dreams become a nightmare. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is GINX News. Palworld. The game I tried for a couple of hours, really didn't vibe with, and now I have to talk about it every single day because everyone won't stop playing it. We all know it's been an unprecedented success. We all know the player numbers on Steam are huge, but by God, it's showing no signs of slowing down. Last night, the Pokemon /Ark /Tears of the Kingdom /Slavery game hit an insane peak of 1.8 million concurrent players, meaning it's overtaken Counter-Strike. So yeah, even games that encourage gambling addictions are being beaten. That makes it the second most played Steam game of all time. Sadly, it likely won't hit number one, which is held by PUBG, that hit 3.2 million players back in early 2018. But still, 6 million copies in 4 days is hella impressive. And while I don't really gel with survival games, I really hope this forces Pokemon's hand, and Mr. Beast agrees. He tweeted out, "I grew up playing so much Pokemon on my Game Boy, and it's crazy that all the games now are still basically the same thing. I'd give anything for them to reinvent the model and just slightly try to freshen it up." And by that, I don't think he means by adding RPGs or labor camps, more just he hopes they don't just make another game that looks like it's from 2011. Either way, I wouldn't be surprised if Palworld broke 2 million overnight, especially as it seems the game is just blowing up in China right now. Ultimately, I've got to ask, is it worth the hype? Is Palworld really that good of a game, or was it just in the right place at the right time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And it's around now that it's important that we just collectively remember that other games exist too. In fact, Palworld isn't the only success story of the year so far. The Prince of Persia team has tweeted out a thank you for all the love that The Lost Crown has been getting. It launched to critical acclaim and quickly shook off concerns over a new 2D Prince of Persia game. If anything, it's just super impressive that they revitalized the franchise after so damn long. The Lost Crown is just an incredibly well-made Metroidvania game. It runs silky smooth, and it's kind of a shame how it's been somewhat overshadowed by another game that I'm gonna try and refrain from naming again. Not only that, but one of the devs have also hinted that they'd love to work with the Zelda IP to make a strange spin-off based on Adventure of Link. Now, as a Zelda fanboy, my first instinctive reaction is to panic and be like, you stay away from my boy Link. But considering Ubisoft have collabed with Nintendo on games like Mario and Rabbids, and the fact that they're actually pretty damn good, maybe this ain't the worst idea. If it's made by the same team as The Lost Crown and it's clearly distinct from the mainline Zelda games, perhaps there's room for a Metroidvania set in Hyrule. Let us know if that is something that you'd like to see in the future. VR is having a rather interesting journey. Back when the Oculus first was shown off, I remember being swept up with the crowd thinking, this will change gaming forever. I mean, it felt obvious. You can be inside the game? Think of the possibilities.
Jesus wept! Stop saying Jesus wept.
I must admit, I was a teenager at the time, and falling for the hype was part of my everyday routine. It was the same when the Wii was first revealed. I sat there wide-eyed, thinking, this will change gaming forever. But did I learn? No. And when it came to trying VR for the first time, I was as excited as could be. I put on the headset, pressed forward on the analog stick, and then felt violently sick. And that was just one of a trio of problems for VR. They needed to get the technology down to consumer level prices, and you had to have games worthy of that investment. And these kinks are still being worked out today by companies like Meta and Sony, though we've now received a boatload of data from Amazon, and boy is the Meta Quest way ahead. In fact, over the last holiday season, Sony sold 10,500 headsets on Amazon US, while Meta sold 320,000. That means for every one PSVR 2 sold, the Quest sold around 30. Now, granted, that includes both the Quest 2 and 3, but still, that is a concerningly big difference. It makes sense. For the PSVR 2, you've got to pay hundreds of dollars for the PS5 and then hundreds of dollars for the headset too. The Meta Quest is just all in one. And it just leaves the question, should Sony give up on VR? There is still a sense that the technology is the future, and as a business, you want to be ahead of the game. I mean, Apple is certainly investing a lot in VR at the moment, but perhaps consoles are not where it's at. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Perhaps you have a PSVR 2 and you think it's worth the purchase. We actually streamed some VR stuff just yesterday, and I loved me some Moss too. Let us know what you think though in the comments. Let's round up the show with some quick-fire news, because sometimes there's a whole load of little bits that just can't be missed. First up, a new Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer has dropped. This is the new live-action series based on the much-loved Nickelodeon show, and it has two major green flags. One, they pronounced Aang's name correctly, wow, and two, it seems they've nailed the casting, especially with Sokka. I know the original creators were involved and then jumped ship, but god does the bending look good, so is it time to finally get hyped? Next up, Nintendo has confirmed that online play will shut down on the 3DS and Wii U in April. I don't think too many people will be upset, except that little hub keeping the original Splatoon multiplayer alive, but I'm just waiting for the drama when Nintendo gun for whoever starts providing it as a free third-party service, even though they're no longer supporting it themselves. And finally, a Twitch streamer has been banned for shoving forks into toasters. His name is Boggles1, as in Boggles one dumb motherfucker. Turns out the whole stunt was staged, but still, Twitch doesn't take too kindly to content that could result in death, especially as we know how dumb kids can be with jumping on trends. Boggles has now apologized, admitting how much he had forked up. Thank you. And now he's waiting out his 30-day ban by streaming on Kick. I'm now craving some toast, so I'm going to love you and leave you. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in tomorrow for when Palworld breaks more records, saves a puppy from a burning tree, and becomes president of the United States.